Hello, everyone, and welcome to the HP Podcast, episode number 308. I'm Ben, and with me here today are the beautiful boys, as always. We got Dave rolling in here with his Volkswagen shirt on again, pretending like he's German. Dave, are you German?
No.
You're Canadian.
I tried to learn German once.
Are you pure blood Canadian?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah.
You tried to learn German once?
Yeah. Like I took lessons and stuff, and I have two German dictionaries in the thing behind me, and I got pretty far. But then I realized what you need when you're an adult learning a language is someone else to speak the language with you. And given I didn't really know anybody other than my tutor who spoke German, I was like, this is going to be really tricky.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've diverted my attention to Farsi because my wife and her family speak Farsi, and I've always got someone like within arm's reach of me that I could speak Farsi with. And when you're an adult trying to learn a language, I think having people around you who you can speak with and converse with is key. So yeah, German didn't work, but we'll try again with Farsi.
Why did you want to learn German?
I guess I went through a phase in my life where I was like, I think Germany would be a really cool place to go and visit. And like, I wasn't planning on like moving there or anything, but it was before I'd moved out, and I was still working part-time, and I guess I just needed a hobby, and I started to learn a language, and I chose German. So yeah.
The problem with learning Farsi is that you can no longer, well, if you learn Farsi and all of your relatives know it, then they won't talk about you behind your back in front of, like, you know, in the same room. Whereas if you learned it in secret, you could sneak it, like just be sitting at the Thanksgiving table and be like, oh, I have no idea what you're saying. And they're like, can you believe what Dave did?
I've seen
So
videos of like this guy who he goes into these like shops where they're run by, in one it was like, in one case it was run by like an African couple,
yeah,
and they were speaking like this really obscure like African language, dialect or whatever, and like he just started speaking to them in their language, and they were floored because one, he was just a random white dude in New York, and two, like their language is not a popular language. So
right.
yeah, I would love to recreate that, but as I said, I think I would need those people to
Hmm.
but I can still replicate that in other circles where it's like not my family, but like people who don't know me that well, and just kind of introduce myself and then just sneak in there with the
Yeah.
not English, but yeah.
When I was in high school, I took Spanish, and I have 5 years of Spanish. 4 of those years were with the same teacher. She was from Puerto Rico, and she would get very frustrated at my class because I don't know if we were just stupid or just it's a lot different. Like she would get frustrated that we didn't learn Spanish as quickly as she learned English because Puerto Rico they still speak a lot of English there, and then the United States we don't start till we're in like eighth grade trying to learn anything else in at all. So she would get really frustrated and we'd just play like pick two, which was like a Spanish Scrabble, basically. So I know how to spell like 4 letter words if I can look at them. Anyway, I went to Mexico one time and I was in high school and I was in a shop and I really wanted to buy a fake Rolex. Like that was my whole thing. And I knew just enough Spanish to be able to hear them saying like, "Oh, we should charge them more than that." And I was like, "Oh, but it only cost you this." And they're like, "Okay." And then they just like gave it to me. That was the only time Spanish has ever come in. Like I only knew enough Spanish for that one specific situation 20 years ago, and never again.
It's good though, because I think linguistically, English speaking North Americans are like, I feel like the rest of the world all knows at least two languages, and it's
Yeah,
just Canadians and Americans who grew up on English just don't speak. And we take French all the way up to I think like ninth grade or something like that here in Canada, but I can't speak French, so it's like
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we need to catch up with the rest of the world and just have one other language at least.
Brandon, what languages do you know? Waifu,
Um,
Ooh, ooh.
broken English.
broken English,
Yeah, does that count?
Yeah, big time.
the waifu languages.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that one
I
just
mean,
came to me. I didn't set that one up, but that one just
Right.
happened in my brain as I said it.
Yeah, as much as I would love to learn a second language, I know that I'm like a bad learner. I feel like I feel like Dave actually is onto something. I feel like it is paramount to have somebody speaking it around you because just looking at something and even hearing an app talk about it, you could use these Duolingo, stuff like that, Rosetta Stone, whatever the fuck you want. But I feel like it doesn't replace having a conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm a very much a like be shown how it's done type of guy. So like being with somebody in person would probably be paramount for that. But
I also think just the fact like your brain learns languages best as children. But in the United States, for whatever reason, at least in my school, we didn't start you weren't even allowed to take another language until you were in eighth grade. So that by that point, the idiocy has already set in. Like you're already a teenager, raging hormones. You have no idea what's going on. And they're like, also try to learn how to speak an entirely different language that you've barely ever heard before. And you're like, okay. And then maybe you learn a little bit of it and then you don't use it. And language is also one of those things where like you have to continue to use it. Or you just forget it. Just like Dave's example of speaking French. I think maybe that was intentional that he forgot how to do that, but we'll see. Edward Walton in chat says running on 36 hours, no sleep. Let's go. Edward, I'm very happy you're here, but I would advise against staying awake any longer unless it is absolutely paramount to your survival. Meanwhile, we don't know, but Edward's like in the tundra, like running from a snow monster right now. He's like,
But
I
he's
can't
still
sleep.
tuned in. So
He's still
thanks.
tuned in.
it's bedtime, buddy.
Greek says, shout out to the PlayStation Classic in the background. Hack it and load it up with ROMs that you own legally, of course.
That's not even the best thing in my background. Here, look, I'll show you.
What is it? What is it?
My 3080.
Are you selling that, Brandon?
Fuck,
buddy.
It's kind of broke, but
Wait, did you get a new graphics card?
no.
Wait. Why?
You
I'm
guys are just
confused.
teasing me now.
I'm borrowing one.
Oh, okay. To test it out and see if that fixes your problem?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It did.
That sucks. I mean, that's good, but it sucks. So what are you running in there right now?
3080.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there she goes, I guess.
That's how it is.
Thanks to everybody for tuning in, being here live, or if you're listening later, that's totally okay too. We appreciate it. If you want to, you can support us over on patreon.com/handsomephantom, where you can get this show early and ad-free every week, even at the $1 tier. We offer that to you. You can also hang out with us on Discord at handsomephantom.com/Discord. We appreciate everybody who hangs out there with us. Thank you very much. A little announcement next Tuesday night. So we're live here every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then the show goes live for free feeds on Thursdays at around 11 a.m. Eastern. But next week on Tuesday is New Year's Eve. The week after that is Christmas Eve. No, I got that backwards.
Yeah,
next week is Chris. I'm actually changing it up, guys. I'm starting a movement. All right. We're switching the holidays. Next week is Christmas Eve. The week after is New Year's Eve. And in the 308 episodes of this show, we've moved like from a Tuesday to a Wednesday before, or, whatever. But we've never been late. We've never missed a show. This year's different. We're just not doing the show live the next 2 weeks. We're going to record once at some point and put it out at some point over the next couple of weeks. But as far as live, timely episodes, this will be the not last one until the beginning of next year. I know. But we don't care. We're just doing it. There's not always a lot to talk about in those last couple weeks of the year, and we all just need a little break. Very busy. We're very busy men here. So we'll have something for you out, probably have a video and an audio version as well, but we'll let you know what that is either in Discord or on the Patreon, or you'll just see it pop through on your feeds at some point. But we will not be live on New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve or those weeks at all. Edward says, sounds like room to sleep. I would not advise waiting until next week's missed episode to take your opportunity to sleep. But thank you. Appreciate it. Did I miss anything there, boys? Does that sound right? Okay. Guys, we missed it by a couple days last week. We talked about it in the run-up to it. But the Game Awards happened. And, we could talk about the awards if we wanted to, but we all know why everybody tunes into the Game Awards. We tune in for the announcements. And there were some doozies there. There were some mixed reactions. I think it was a pretty good show overall. But why don't we go around and talk about our reactions to the entire show? And then let's pick out a few things that we want to talk about, some announcements as well. Dave, you've got yours written here, so I'll let you go first. Just first with your kind of reactions to the show, I guess.
Sure. I think I enjoyed it better this year, and I think that's because I watched it a lot differently this year. Last year, I actually sat on my couch and watched it with like 100% of my attention, plus my phone in my hand. Whereas this year, last year I found it really boring and way too long, and I was forced to watch the musical numbers and da-da-da-da-da. Whereas this year, I had it on my laptop while I was playing PlayStation, so I just kind of glanced over every time something cool happened. So there's little things here and there that I missed, but overall, I found I enjoyed it better watching it that way. I think the show was probably about the same length. The awards were just as not interesting as they were last year, but I think overall, I enjoyed. I was surprised at some things. There were some things that weren't surprises that I was really happy about, and I'll talk about that in a second. But overall, I think it was a good show. I'm trying to look at this like a winter E3 and nothing more. In that, we're just getting announcements, and it's cool to see stuff that we're looking forward to for the next year. And I do feel like most of what we saw is 2025. Some of it obviously was a little bit later. So I do like that what Jeff's show focuses on is the near term, because I don't like a lot of like teaser, coming soon type stuff. I like stuff that I'm going to be able to play in the next 12 months. So that's what I got mostly.
Yeah. Nice. Brandon, what about you? What do you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I thought the show was good. I thought the pacing was a lot better this year. I think I mentioned it last week, but this year's show was really not about the awards for me. It never is mostly about the awards, but usually in past years there's been like I've had a stake in a lot of the games that have been presented awards or been nominated for awards rather. But this year kind of fell flat for me as far as that goes. Not to say the quality of the games was bad. I just didn't really have any personal connection with those games, most of them this year. So the show really was about the announcements for me this year. And what I will say about the announcements, unlike previous years, there were some really interesting things to me this year. And some really unexpected things. Jeff usually has one or two unexpected things, but I feel like this show was more than normal. I thought the production value was really good this year, aside from some weird audio issues that kept popping up. I thought the amount of time they took in between presenters was a lot more cleaned up. I feel like nothing dragged on too long. Especially last year, I really felt like some of the things were just going on and on and on. So, yeah, I thought the amount they let people speak, the production value, the choice of what to put in the show, I felt like this was an overall increase in quality from last year. And in my opinion, it's been going downhill for a couple years now. So the fact that I was able to see some redeemable qualities this year, as opposed to the past couple, was a good thing for me because I like the show. I think it's a good thing, even though it's mostly just a big old ad. It's good for the industry and it's good for us as gamers and as people that love this space. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I mostly agree with your guys' thoughts. I always just approach the Game Awards as, well, I'm just going to be entertained for a little while and maybe I see some cool announcements. And that's about it. Like, I don't ever have high hopes. So I'm always like relatively happy with the show. But this year I was pretty pleased with it, above and beyond. I think that in addition to what you guys said, just the fact that, we didn't see a whole lot of people, we didn't see any award recipients getting played off, which is really nice. Because as much as we only really care about the announcements, it's still like a huge moment for those people. And if we're going to pretend to have an award show, if we're going to have an award show, we shouldn't dismiss them so easily and quickly. I think that there's been a lot of criticisms of the awards and of Jeff and of the way things are done. This year the big thing was, oh really, you're going to let a DLC potentially get nominated for or get Game of the Year. It didn't end up happening, so everybody will forget about it until the next time that kind of comes up. But there's a lot of things that just people have a problem with, and I like and didn't like the fact that Jeff used the Muppets as a way to kind of give a critique on those things. Like kind of riffing off of it, like kind of addressing those things head on, and not pretending like he just doesn't see them or notice them. I dislike it in a way because it's like, okay, well, you can just make a joke about it and then not do anything about it. But at the same time, it's like, okay, at least they're aware, And I say we always talk about how Jeff runs. There's a lot of people who run that show, right? Jeff's the final, I think, decision maker on a lot of things. Don't get me wrong, but so at least like there's a little bit of feedback there that we get to see that some of those things are being heard. But overall, I thought it was fun. I thought the show was pretty good. I thought the performances were great. I loved seeing Harrison Ford there. It was a little sad to see him getting so old, even though we know he's getting old. But I thought that overall the show was a good time. Dave, on to the announcements. Give me a couple that you were really particularly interested in, or just one.
Sure. Yeah, I'll just go one, and I guess we'll go around, and I'll give my second one. First one for me that I'm really excited about is Outer Worlds 2. This was announced in 2021 with a very self-aware teaser trailer where they literally just made fun of themselves for not having anything to show, and the game is a real long way off. And I always kept thinking about Outer Worlds and like, when are we actually going to get that? Like how much were they joking? And now we have an answer. It's coming in 2025. Got a really good gameplay trailer that showed a lot of different things that's going to be coming in the game, and the narrator actually kind of gave a lot, even though some of it seemed to be tongue-in-cheek. But yeah, it looks like we're going to get more Outer Worlds 2, which is a really good thing to me. I think Obsidian just has a style and a personality that has just come across so well in their games, whether it be New Vegas or the original Outer Worlds. So I'm really looking forward to this. It looks like they are adding some new range weapons and abilities, and I think As much as I loved Outer Worlds for the characters and the stories and the dialogue, I did feel like the combat was a little bit lacking, so it appears as though they are adding a little bit more variety there, which I think will help. One of the things that does have me a little concerned is they did say in the trailer, and it's been publicized since then, that this game is going to be twice as big as the original. And one of the charms of the original was its brevity, and its brevity compared to other games in the genre. You could finish that game in like 10 to 12 hours, which was great. So I hope this game doesn't overstay its welcome, and it stays kind of focused while maybe adding a little bit more optional extras or optional side environments for you to kind of explore in new characters. But overall, I'm really happy to be able to play Outer Worlds 2 in 2025. This one looks really good.
Nice. Brandon, up first for you.
I was pretty excited for Split Fiction. I think that Hazelight Studios really captivated me with A Way Out and with It Takes Two. I think they do something very special, and obviously Joseph is a character, and it's always good to see him there since the fuck the Oscars moment. But yeah, it looks really interesting. I love that they're kind of doing a fantasy sci-fi switcheroo. I think that can really play on some really interesting ideas, and I have complete faith in them. Actually, like so much faith. They seem to be doing things in the co-op genre that nobody is interested in doing, and that nobody has kind of done before. I think It Takes Two was something really special story-wise and in action. So to see something else that's maybe, I want to see a little bit more creative, because the idea of dolls being brought to life about a family getting a divorce was very creative. But to see something more like off the wall, I guess, in this like sci-fi fantasy switcheroo where you're going back and forth, and to see some of the tropes and things play out on screen here, it was pretty cool. So I'll definitely be there day one. Maybe I can con somebody into playing the whole game with me, but we'll see.
Project Robot was my first one that was interesting. And this is from Fumito Ueda, of course, created Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, Last Guardian. It's interesting because I have never played The Last Guardian, and I have not played Ico. I did play Shadow of the Colossus.
You didn't play The Last Guardian?
I didn't play The Last Guardian.
Damn.
I played Shadow of the Colossus, the first one, not even the remake. But I'm interested because, and here's the reason, both Last Guardian and Ico were games that I didn't play when they released, or wasn't even really excited for or anything to see them, and I was kind of in the space, but kind of out of the space at the same time, with, the timing that they hit. And so by the time I got around to like, oh, I should play these, it just didn't, nothing, like every time I've tried to sit down and play The Last Guardian, I'm like, I don't really want to. And so I know that Ueda's games are beloved and divisive, but beloved. And so I'm excited to be in on this, or at least interested in it from the very get-go. And I think also my gaming tastes have changed since the old days, and I'm much more interested in a wider variety of games. So we'll see what it looks like. But I just know that Ueda is so loved and revered, and all of his games have been like, if not universally loved, at least major points of conversation and reflection in the industry. And for me, that's exciting to have another entry by him in that same vein. So,
dude, Shadow is so difficult to play. Legitimately, It was one of the coolest games I've ever played, but it was one of the most annoying games I've ever played.
You played the remake, right, or the remaster, or whatever it was? Yeah,
and it's even better than it was. So that's like a really weird thing for me. So I want to be excited, but at the same time, whenever I finish Shadow, I was like, I never want to play this game again, but I will never forget this game.
I remember you saying that.
Seriously,
actually,
yeah. It's like I was so aggravated by just the mechanics at the end. But I'll never forget the game. It was honestly amazing.
Yeah,
the journey. So
when I played the original, I remember being very frustrated with it. And honestly, I can't even remember if I finished it, and I can't go back and look because I think that was PS2, right? Was that PS2 or PS3?
Yeah, it was PS2.
PS2. So there's like no trophies or anything to go back and look at to even see if I finished it. But maybe someday I'll give the remake a shot. What's that?
You have to go find your old memory card.
Yeah. My PS2 blew up, so I don't even know if I kept the memory card or not, honestly. Yeah, but I'm excited for the new entry at the very, or not a new entry in the series, obviously, but a new Ueda game because I've always felt like I'm missing something, and maybe someday I'll be able to go back and play those other ones. But every time I think about it, I'm like, I don't want to right now. I want to play something else.
It looks like a PS2 game.
It does, yeah. The whatever, that's fine. I don't care how games. If a game's supposed to look really good, I want it to look really good. If a game's like this is our art style, I'm totally fine with that. So that's their art style, and I'm okay with that. Dave, back to you.
Alex dies twice in chat says, "How the fuck do you blow up a PS2?" Ben, we can't gloss over this.
I think I don't know what happened, but I think it overheated and like there was smoke coming out of it. So I just got rid of it because I was like, wow,
did you put Halo in it?
I tried to put Halo in my PS2 and it blew up. I don't know, but either whatever happened, it was smoking and I got rid of it because I was like, I'd already moved on to 360 by that point, I think. And it's like, whatever. Now I regret it. I mean, I want to get a PS2 again at some point. I have so many games for it. But, yeah.
My second game is not nearly as interesting as what both of you guys said, but Borderlands 4. We knew this was coming. We finally have gameplay. I say finally. It's not like we've been waiting all that long. But I am really excited for Borderlands 4, and I'm completely fine with this series getting stale and just kind of, peaking with Borderlands 2. All I want is more Borderlands. I have really low expectations for this series, but I keep coming back because I just love it. I still haven't got the song out of my head from that reveal trailer. I love when they take trailers and sync it up to the music really, really well, and I just have the cat jam in my head. But yeah, Borderlands 4. One of the reasons why I was excited by this trailer is because of the antagonist, who we don't really know much about. His name is the Timekeeper. That's about all we know. And I think that some developers get in this habit where they catch lightning in a bottle with a really cool antagonist. And I think about Handsome Jack, and I think about like Voss from Far Cry 3. And they just try to like make a new really cool or funny antagonist, and it never kind of hits the same note that the original did. So what I saw from this trailer, obviously we didn't get any dialogue or anything, but it looks like they've gone in a different direction with the antagonist, and they're not trying to make something that's funny and something that is as cool as Handsome Jack. He's just like, he seems like a stoic dude who's super evil and like you just got to kill and something. But I just like that they're not trying to make another Handsome Jack. And he is called the Timekeeper, so for all we know, he could be Handsome Jack. He could be some kind of time traveler or something. But I like that. It looks like we're getting a brand new planet, brand new enemy types, and yeah, just more Borderlands. That's really all I want. This is such a fun single player or co-op series. So I know a lot of people are into it for that. And yeah, that's coming out later this year. So again, another game that's coming out. And I just got to shout out the Game Awards trailers that show just pure gameplay, because I like to see what I'm going to be doing in the game. And Outer Worlds and Borderlands 4 did that perfectly. So yeah, really excited for Borderlands.
Wait, when's that coming out?
I don't think we have a date, but it did say 2025.
Okay, wrong, you said this year, and I was like, no way, I missed that.
This year isn't, 25.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Dave, I have tried to play Borderlands 1 and 2 multiple times, and it's just never clicked with me. I think I've played most of Borderlands 1, but is it a series that is worth going back and playing all the older entries? And if so, should I do it co-op?
You should play Borderlands 2, and you should play it co-op.
Okay.
I would skip 3 personally. There's nothing wrong with 3. It's just it's kind of bloated. And I think the pre-sequel doesn't get enough love. But so if you could only play 2 games, I would definitely say 2. And if you can do it co-op, do it. It's aged pretty well, so it's still a lot of fun. And yeah, if you can hit pre-sequel, it's a little bit shorter than the other ones. Yeah, but I wouldn't go near 1. And 3 is good, but it's
more the same.
You don't need it.
Yeah. Okay. The stories aren't connected.
A little bit, but I mean, you're not there for the story.
Right.
Too much,
Fair enough.
But You get some backstory about like the sirens or whatever Lilith's character is, and stuff like that, in Claptrap and that kind of. But it really doesn't matter. Yeah.
Let's play Borderlands 2, Dave.
Let's do it.
Okay. Brandon, your next one.
Yeah, so obviously Elden Ring, Night Rain. Yeah, I shit a brick. I shit a brick. Ben was there. And I came at the same time. So
I didn't see the brick. That's all I'm saying. I just
all right.
Just saying I didn't see the brick part. I saw everything else.
But yeah, man. When it first came on the screen, I was like, this looks like a From game. And then I saw the towers, and I was like, why would like this looks exactly like Elden, like the towers, and then sure enough, From comes up on screen. So yeah, I think this is really cool. Well, we talked a lot about playing the co-op mod, and I think they saw the popularity of that and kind of wanted to capitalize on that. This is going to be a very different, more arcadey experience, and I think it's going to be great to continue to push From in the hands of the general public. I think that Elden Ring was a huge step forward for that. I think it's not quite mass appeal, but it was the closest a From game has ever been. So to see a developer that's made games that I love so dearly kind of continue to push into the mainstream, I think that's good for them overall, because I want everyone to enjoy this type of game as much as possible. So it's going to be much more arcadey, no fall damage, very, very heavily reliant on cooperative play, whereas co-op was always a thing in these games, all the From games, but was more of a supplementary thing, and not a thing you would do constantly. So from my understanding, it will be a 3-day and night cycle, and you almost have to collect, loot, level up. I mean, these games are kind of like the roguelike games that we all play, but this seems more of a you're just doing a run type of thing instead of exploring an open world or a mostly linear world. So this is going to be super cool. I don't know where we're going to be dropping, boys, but it's going to be in Lindell. So it's going to be interesting to say the least. While running, there's going to be like powers. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about, and this is kind of like a bitchy complaint, is I'm very much into the whole like fashion souls thing. And I'm seeing some mixed reporting on whether or not armor is going to be a thing. Armaments seem to be a thing heavily in this game, but I hope you have the ability to change your look, because it's going to be kind of class based as well. So I was even seeing reporting that there might not be custom characters either. So I don't know. We'll see. It's definitely interesting. It's not like anything they've ever done before. Honestly, not even close, aside from like the actual properties being the same in some fashion. The way the game plays out seems to be very different in a lot of ways. So continuing to innovate, continuing to kind of transform the formula. And I think this is a culmination of, like I said, a lot of years of just kind of seeing what the people want. And I'm really interested to see how they do it, because I'm positive they're going to put their interesting spin on it. Even based off the stuff we already know, I know there's going to be more things in here that kind of push this to another level. So it's not going to be a full price title either, which is really cool from what I'm seeing. So yeah, I will be there day one. Absolutely, undoubtedly there day one.
Yeah, Brandon, we know you're a huge fan because of how fast you finished Erdtree.
I know, dude.
Still
working. Dude, the fucking Madness Forest got to me, dude. That's actually what burnt me out on the game, was trying to get through the goddamn Madness Forest and trying to like parry these motherfuckers when I'm so bad at parrying. Absolutely an abomination. I hate it.
Brandon was very excited during the reveal, and I just kept giving him a hard time for not finishing Erdtree, calling him a fake fan.
That's right.
It's okay with me. For me, the next thing is actually Intergalactic. Yes, I'm a big Naughty Dog fan. What'd you say?
Yes, I said, yeah, it looks great.
I'm a big Naughty Dog fan. Not to say I've loved, blindly all of their stuff they've ever made, but I just have a lot of faith in a giant team, in PlayStation's like premier team at this point, right? And I'm just excited for it. I don't care that the aesthetic is Guardians of the Galaxy. As a matter of fact, that's intriguing to me. As soon as this trailer came on, we were trying to figure out who it was, and like probably like my second or third guess was Naughty Dog for some reason. And then I started seeing all the brand advertising, and I was like, why? But it doesn't matter or whatever. I think it's just placement for the sake of money, but also for time getting your bearings and everything. But I don't know. I don't know what this game's going to be. I don't know what kind of style it's going to be. The little bit of gameplay we saw looked cool. But I'm really just excited because it's Naughty Dog, and I know it's at least going to be a quality game. Even if it's not a game everybody likes, I'm sure I'm at least going to enjoy the fact that it is a good, well-made game. So that's exciting to me. I don't have a lot to say about that one because we don't know a lot about it. But I assume it's a little ways off still. I saw the day after the Game Awards, they posted a bunch of jobs with it in the title and everything. So they're still hiring. So you would assume it's not near done yet. But for them to announce it, it's got to be at least, within 3 years, I would imagine, at the very longest, I would say, for them to put out an announcement trailer. So it's a long ways off, but it's something I was excited and at least happy about it because, well, one, even though I have no real brand loyalty, we need another Sony first-party title to be announced to know about something that somebody's working on. And two, like I said, just because it's Naughty Dog, we know it's going to be at least of a high quality, if not also very fun and good. Anything else, boys, that you wanted to talk about before we move on?
Boys, this stole the show, and I can't believe you guys didn't talk about this. The Last of Us 2 remastered. I cannot believe we haven't mentioned this yet.
Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, The Witcher 4 looks great. Series awesome.
Yeah.
I want to go back and finally finish The Witcher 3. I feel like I got the gusto in me to do it this time, boys. I really do. But Siri is hot. I'm just going to say that. I'm just going to say it to everyone online who says she's not. She is a smoke show. And it's okay that she's mean because she's a fucking Witcher. So she like cuts heads off of things, boys.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Bro, here's the thing. There's all these people online who are like, oh, they're not that attractive looking. And like talking about video game characters, whatever, like people saying that about models, actresses. Sydney Sweeney, I saw recently, people were trashing on saying she was mid. I'm like, most of the people online saying this stuff have never been in the presence of a woman, let alone an attractive one.
Yeah.
They're not real people. These people don't know anything.
And
I'm not saying they have to be your type. I'm just saying you can't call one of the most beautiful people in the world mid.
If they were gay, I would support them.
Sure. It's fine. Do what you want to do. I don't care.
So it looks great. We obviously know nothing. It was a whole lot of nothing, aside from like a cinematic awesomeness, right? But yeah, per the usual, The Witcher coming in hot. We knew they were in production. They were in full production after Phantom Liberty. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of where the School of the Lynx leads us, because this is to my knowledge, is not a known school yet. It's a new school. So whether or not Siri is going to be making the school, or maybe it's a long lost school, so it'll be interesting. I have a couple of the books.
Have you read them?
I've read some of the one. Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of difficult to get through. There's a lot of like, what are they from? Poland?
Yeah.
Polish sounding names or some shit.
Yeah. It's like
my brain doesn't read them very well, let alone memorize these incredibly long names.
Yeah. Cool. Any others? I don't want to cut anybody off from talking about anything they
Just
really want to talk
shout
about.
out Onimusha real quick. This series has been dormant for a really long time, and the only one I played is the one with Jean Reno, which was like, I don't know how many years ago, but I just hope that it doesn't become a Neo game and it still does what Onimusha did all those years ago. But what they showed from the gameplay trailer, and it was just a brief gameplay snippet, looked really, really cool. So as long as it doesn't turn into a Neo game, I'm on board.
Dude, Neo are great games though.
Yeah. I don't know.
Then let them be their own thing.
Neo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Nintendo now owns 100% of Monolith Soft, Monolith Soft this comes from automaton/media.com. Monolith Soft was originally created by founders, I'm not even going to say their names because I can't, with investment from Namco, now Bandai Namco, to work on Xenosaga, a Namco-owned spiritual successor to Xenogears. In 2007, Nintendo bought out 80% of Monolith Soft shares from Namco and then went on to further increase its stake to 96% in 2011. Up until recently, Monolith Soft's founders have maintained a symbolic 4% stake in the company, but it seems Nintendo has acquired the remaining shares. We don't know exactly when this happened, but they've said, but they still owned, the founders still own 4% of Monolith Soft, at least until March this year. That's really all the news we have about it, but I just thought it was interesting. I think it's probably a practical move here for Nintendo just to go ahead and buy up the rest of it. But Nintendo is so mysterious about their studios, and this is really what I wanted to talk about. It's interesting that, first of all, we even know this. It's probably not from Nintendo's filings. But Nintendo is so secretive about like who makes their, I don't even know if it's secretive. They just don't promote it. Who makes their games and who works at what studio and what they're working on at the moment and everything. And that's interesting. But do either of you guys have anything really to talk about with this? Just Nintendo finally putting a ring on it and buying the whole company out?
They already had them. You know what I mean? Like, even the article says it was symbolic. So this is kind of unsurprising that this wouldn't have happened at some point anyway. So.
Yeah. Like I said, guys, there's nothing to talk about at the end of the year. Xbox exclusivity may be going away. This comes from Twisted Voxel. And of course, you know, we've been talking about Xbox exclusivity, will they, won't they, for years now. But Microsoft is reportedly regretting keeping Ninja Theory's Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 console exclusive to Xbox, while Fable may arrive on PS5. Game journalist and the Xbox 2 podcast co-host Jez Corden took to Twitter to respond to a post that questioned the point of keeping Hellblade 2 avowed and South of Midnight console exclusive to Xbox. He shared that he heard Microsoft considers Hellblade 2 exclusivity a mistake, and he believes the software giant won't repeat the same mistake with Fable by not bringing it to PS5. According to Corden, Fable has monstrously expensive budget. He said that the action role-playing game might not be day one, but it'll come to PS5 eventually with Microsoft's current plan in place, which involves bringing all first-party Xbox titles to PlayStation over time. He further stated that the reason Microsoft isn't more transparent about its plans is because it doesn't want to mandate it on studios that aren't yet set up for simultaneous multi-platform development. That said, he firmly believes that the era of Xbox having permanent exclusives is over. Boys, what do you think of this? I think it's been a long time coming. I think that it's a weird moment because there's never been a time where we haven't had a console manufacturer make all their games exclusive for their own platform that are first party owned. But we definitely are seeing this happen with Xbox existing, maybe permanently in the future, and PlayStation's bringing a lot of their games to PC. So this is starting to kind of sweep. Will Nintendo ever bring their games to anything else? Dave, what do you think here about not only with Xbox but the industry as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is still hearsay at this point, but assuming that this sentiment is true, it makes a lot of sense. Just because the Xbox install base is just so tiny, I just don't understand why it makes fiscal sense to keep something stranded on that hardware. Game Pass has just kind of been way too cannibalistic for the console itself, and there just hasn't been enough compelling software that is console exclusive to kind of, you know, keep anything stranded on there, like I said. And it's unfortunate because if you look at this past generation, like on paper, Forza Horizon, Forza Motorsport, Starfield, Halo Infinite, those should be enough to kind of prop up the Xbox and keep it relevant. But, you know, two of those games, I don't want to say they flopped, but didn't really hit the way that we expected them to. And everything else is just, it's all come to PC. So the reason to keep, you know, I haven't turned my Xbox on in, I don't know how, it's been at least 6 months. And I assume it's probably a similar case with you guys because there just isn't a reason. So if I was, you know, a third party developer or whatever, I don't see the reason to invest the extra money to to have my game exclusively on that platform. So I kind of take it a step further and think, what is the business case to having a successor to the Xbox Series X? Like, time has kind of run out to see that mid-gen refresh, and nothing has happened. We saw a snippet of a new marketing campaign that Xbox put out where they basically said everything is an Xbox. So I think what we're starting to see is the death of this thing, which is really, really sad. Because I mean, the Xbox has had some awesome moments in gaming history, but we're just watching it come to an end here, and it's disappointing. So yeah, I don't really see any case to have any Xbox exclusives going forward, because Game Pass has just kind of ruined it. So yeah.
Is this kind of a situation of a snake eating its own tail, whereas like as their user base decreases, they start spreading their games to other platforms, and therefore it decreases more?
I mean, if Game Pass on PC and console is what made them the most money, then fine. That's a business thing that works out. And if the future of Microsoft in gaming doesn't mean a console, then fine. So maybe cannibalistic is the wrong word, because it seems they're just going in a different direction. But it certainly seems that way, Ben. It really does.
Brandon, what do you think here?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Dave put a lot of what I was thinking pretty eloquently out there. But yeah, I think that there's been a very clear shift in how Xbox is handling things. And with the amount of players they have that actually have the physical consoles, I don't really think it makes much sense anymore to not spread the love everywhere, especially for developers. At this point, and for themselves, I feel like they're more apt to make more money having their IP everywhere. And I think that's kind of what they're going to need to do to kind of continue to push forward and continue to be in the green. So I don't think the Game Pass boom is going to last forever. And so I think that moving forward, this will kind of be the only option to keep Xbox around as we know it at all, let alone a console manufacturer. So
yeah. It's really interesting when you see the number. We don't always see the number, but when you see numbers of like sales of Xbox games, it's like, how do you support a brand with that? And the only explanation is the subscription service, of course. And that's a totally legitimate way to support a brand, of course. Netflix is literally a subscription service. There's millions of subscription services out there, and plenty of people who are willing to pay for them. But it is an interesting time for sure. And I am totally okay with it. One, because I'm not really loyal to any particular brand, as I mentioned, but I just don't understand people who are like, oh no, my exclusives. I've never once bought a console with the hope of being like, nobody else can have this if they don't have an Xbox or a PlayStation or whatever. Like, I don't care. And I don't understand the people who do care about their box, the box they're loyal to. And when I think about it, I'm like, am I brand loyal to anything? There are brands that I will prefer over others because I've been given a better experience to them, but I'm never like rooting for a brand, and I don't understand people who are. Do you guys get any kind of understanding or anything about that?
I think that my gut knows to like, it's almost a nostalgia thing, right, for me. So I want to root for Xbox a little bit because of how much 360 meant to me. I want to root for PlayStation a little bit because that's kind of, the PS1 was my first console ever to play. But at the end of the day, it's like that only gets you so far. And I think that the people that really rally around this sort of thing can only rally around it for so long. I feel like the console wars mentality is kind of dying and not necessarily... Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think it's going to be a thing much longer, and I don't know that you could stay loyal to a brand through everything, man. I just don't get it. The product's got to stand for itself, and that's kind of where the buck stops. And after so long, you got to kind of reevaluate where you're at.
Yeah. Dave, what about you? Are you okay?
I'm loyal to Coke over Pepsi. I take a DC over a Diet Pepsy any day. But no, I kind of bounce.
But wait. But Dave, here's the difference. The difference is if you walked into a restaurant and they had Coke there, but not Pepsi. And let's just pretend for a minute, I don't know, but that your wife prefers Pepsi, and you walk in and you're like, ha ha ha, ha, we got Coke here, screw you. Like that's where's the echo coming from?
Sorry, boss.
Is that you? Okay.
Yeah.
I was just getting like a severe echo, but like it's the people who are like, oh, my thing won. I'm like, I don't get it. I think competition is important in the industry. Don't get me wrong, because otherwise companies get complacent and screw over their consumers. But I just don't. Like I said, I understand having a preference. I don't get celebrating when someone else doesn't get something you want.
The crazy thing is the X bots on Twitter are still really loud, and it's like,
yeah.
What are you cheering?
Right.
You've got nothing anymore. Like all of your games are I say your games. All of the exclusive games are just like they're everywhere. Anybody can have them. They're coming to PlayStation, and I don't know. These people are still shouting at nothing. But I kind of bounce between the two. Like when we were at the height of the wars, I was really big on the PlayStation 3 because of Metal Gear Solid and some of the other exclusives that were there. And, but I play my Xbox 360 now. So it's, right. If you have the privilege to own multiple consoles, then, great. But if you can only have one, just enjoy playing video games and shut the fuck up.
Right. I do understand being disappointed if you're a PlayStation user and there's an Xbox game you can't play or vice versa. I've never understood though. And I mean, maybe this is partially because as an adult, I've always been fortunate enough to be able to have multiple consoles. So maybe that's part of it too, is that like, I've never made a choice. Maybe I've made a choice about which one to get first, which one to get in 2 years, whatever. But, eventually I get to play those games if I want to. I know not everybody's in that same position, but I understand, like I said, having a preference, being bummed when you can't play a game, but I've never understand being excited that someone else couldn't play it.
Yeah, the death of all this stuff started with like crossplay, because that's where it was exclusives, but it was also like you get Call of Duty on 360 because that's where all your friends are, and if you happen to have a lot of friends on PS3, then it's like, well, go with that place because that one's better. But it just kind of started to die there, and it's just continued to fizzle, and I don't know.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our last story here. Chris Barrett is suing Bungie/Sony. This is from GamesBeat. It says, I'm just going to read most of this here because there's a lot of context. Chris Barrett was one of the prominent developers who was fired in March 2024 in the wake of the Me Too scandals that hit the game industry. But Barrett, a game artist, filed a lawsuit today against his former employers, Sony Interactive Entertainment and Bungie, alleging they fired him to avoid giving him a $45 million payment that he said he was entitled to. Barrett's lawsuit said the defendants, quote, deliberately destroyed Barrett's reputation by falsely and publicly insinuating they had investigated Barrett and found he had engaged in sexual misconduct. Defendants did not care that none of it was true. They had blatant motivations for their brazen scheme. And that was, end quote. And that was the payout he said he was entitled to under his employment agreement. The lawsuit went on to say that companies were motivated by a need to, quote, shift blame for and deflect attention away from their massive business failures, and to achieve those corporate objectives, they were willing to sacrifice Barrett, end quote. While that sounds despicable, Barrett was accused of crossing the line between professional and personal behavior. In the course of its journalistic investigation into the Me Too scandal, Bloomberg interviewed 8 people, including multiple women who reported Barrett, as well as other Bungie employees who were either involved in the investigation or spoke to the women involved. And then it goes on to give a huge summary here of what has happened and everything else. You guys can all go and read that if you want. But this is a shame that this is happening in the public eye. One, it's a shame for either Sony or Barrett, whichever one of them is more innocent. I say more innocent because I doubt either one of them are totally innocent. In this, and it's a shame for the people who were affected if there was any wrongdoing. This is all alleged at this point. I'm not going to accuse or state definitively, but if whoever was affected, that sucks for them. But I just wanted to know what you guys think about, one, this situation and how it may shake out. Not that we know or have any real legal basis for knowing. And then two, what do you think this does for the industry as far as like these big public disputes and spats? How does those affect things? Dave, what do you think?
this is a really messed up situation. Um, and I feel like those Bungie slash Sony employees who went and talked to Bloomberg, that was a bit of a mistake. But I guess they had those interviews before Barrett took legal action. So, but in any case, the timing does seem a little fucky. And I don't know, but at the end of the day, these internal investigations that result in the termination of an employee generally produce a pretty strong paper trail. So if such an investigation did take place, I think Sony and Budgie should be able to prove their innocence pretty quickly. But I don't suspect that's the case. And I'm not saying Barrett is innocent, but it I don't know. This, as I said, the timing seems really weird. He is adamantly defending himself, and maybe it's because there's over $40 million on the line, but it's I don't know, something stinks here. Later on in the article, it goes on to say Chris, or his name is Chris Barrett. Chris Barrett started to allude to the fact that he had a lot of dirt on a more senior executive at Bungie. So it sounds like he took the fall for somebody else potentially, or at least that's what he is alleging. So this is a really, there are victims here. I'm going to say that. And I don't know who they are, but this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But I suspect it's going to conclude silently and with a settlement out of court. That's just my gut feeling at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know whoever is the victim here. I hope if Chris did act in a way that was made his termination just, then I don't think the victims are going to get proper recognition or proper justice, because they never really do in cases like this. But if Chris is in fact innocent and he is the victim, then I hope he gets what's owed to him, because he's done great things for the gaming industry. But that doesn't excuse being a dickhead at work. So if he was doing that, then yeah, fuck you. But yeah, as I said, I think this is going to be settled out of court, but we'll see.
Brandon, most of the time when cases like this go forward, if there's any kind of action towards a trial of any kind or whatever, there's a round of discovery where basically the lawyers can go in and request whatever documents they want. If you were Chris in this situation and you did something terrible, would you really want to file a lawsuit during which a lot of that stuff's going to be uncovered? And vice versa, if you're Sony and you fire somebody over this, would you want to have to produce documents that don't exist? Like, both of them seem like the obvious thing is, it very much seems to me like Sony clearly thinks they're in the right and Barrett clearly thinks he's in the right. But one of them knows there's something there to find during discovery.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at this point, Barrett obviously thinks he has something on Sony, and that's kind of why he's, mucking up the water a bit. I think that the most likely thing to happen out of all of this is a settlement of some sort. In fact, that's probably what Barrett's counting on at this point. I think that most of the time, these sort of things don't even make it to court. They just get a hefty sum of money to go away. So I would almost bet money on it myself, and I'm not really a betting man, that Sony will probably just pay this man a hefty lump sum of money to stop. Because I don't think, regardless of, obviously there are people that were affected by this that have nothing to do with Sony or Barrett specifically. And that's, obviously the worst part about all of this. But at the end of the day, it's bad optics for both parties involved, if you ask me. So I think that as a company, even though I don't like it, if Sony is in the wrong, they'll probably get away with it by just waving money in front of it, because that's usually what happens when these things go about. So
yeah, the most likely scenario here is that Barrett wins, whether because he's actually innocent or because he gets paid off. Whichever the case is, I feel like he's going to come out on the upper side of things,
right?
Sure.
Unless Sony literally has like direct email.
Yeah.
That is the only third possibility where, like, in that case, Barrett's an idiot. Yeah. Because he should have never, sued in the first place if he knew that there was like concrete, definitive evidence against him. But as someone who's in the industry for a long time, you wouldn't think he would want to continue to besmirch his name that has all of this question around it, by knowing that Sony might hold something that would further discredit his credibility. So
Right. It's really interesting what they pull out during discovery. Like we saw a lot of that with the Epic versus Apple trial, right? Where, they went in and did all this discovery and then some of it just got revealed in court, like literally years forwards of plans for games, for different things that were going to be free games on Epic, all sorts of different stuff that actually matters, different plans from Apple. So you have to imagine that, like, if they were to go through a round of discovery, the worst thing that Barrett really has to lose is maybe they find some dirt on him, that some rotten things he said or done. The worst thing Sony has to lose is literally their next 5 years worth of plans, because, you don't get to pick and choose which emails you give to the lawyers, and you don't always get to tell the lawyers whether or not they can reveal something publicly. So who knows? Maybe we'll get some leaks out of this. Obviously, there's much more important things at stake here, but let's move on to what we've been playing. Let's see here. Let's see the list. Dave, we'll start with you.
Sure, I'll go quick. I've been balls deep in a girthy Hogwarts Legacy Platinum. That's all I've been playing. Just trying to chip away at this thing because it's a big boy. I'm all done the Merlin trials, which is, in my opinion, the biggest thing you got to do. And there's 95 of them, and they're all done. All the side quests are finished. So now I'm just kind of chipping away at the remaining progress I have with the challenges, and most of them are pretty close to being finished. So my goal was to have this platinum done by Christmas. I think I might hit that, but I'm a little concerned about the having to replay with the 3 houses, because I know you just have to get to the point where the sorting hat puts you into a house, but like I read something that says like it takes like 2 hours to get to that point, but it's been too long for me to remember that. But 2 hours seems like a really long time, so I don't know. We'll see. But maybe my goal will be to finish everything up to that point by Christmas, which is next week. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing.
Yeah, Dave, that's kind of where I was too. I have literally every trophy except for the one that's for finishing each house's intro. And I was like, I started playing another house and I was like, I think I'm good. So maybe someday I'll go back and play those opening intros, but right. I honestly don't care about platinums enough to really make it a focus for me.
Yeah, normally I wouldn't platinum a game like this because my rule is no repeat playthroughs, and this is kind of a repeat playthrough, but the game is just so damn good that it's just easy to kind of keep chipping away at all the map clearing stuff. So
yeah, you're not really replaying it, you're just playing more of it.
Yeah, I know. And I broke that rule with Miles Morales, but I only did that because you can skip things to a point where you can do a whole playthrough in 2 hours. But yeah. So yeah. We'll see if I get there by Christmas. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Brandon, what about you?
So I'm pleased to report that I have finished Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh shit. You did it.
Yeah, I did it.
So, I was really hoping you wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I did it. So I've completed all of my challenges for the year. Thank you. Some by a slim technicality.
Well, one very specifically by a very slim technicality.
I will take it. And mostly one? I was looking at my Twitch recaps. I did stream, even though my goal in reality doesn't seem like something hefty. With the year that I've had, I'm still proud of myself for streaming 3 times a month, every month, and a lot of months more than that. So, yeah, I finally finished Red Dead Redemption 2. Man, what a journey, truly. One of the best games that's ever been made in so many ways. And I merely scratched the surface of it. This game is so deep. It's so beautiful. I was one mission away when I popped back in from a change in character, let's say that. So I popped back in not knowing how close I was, and after playing one singular mission, I kind of had a shift in narrative, let's say. So I will say a small critique. I think the epilogue is a bit too long. I do understand why they set it up in the way they did, and I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was good to kind of see how that journey begins into the next one. But I do think it was ultimately a bit long-winded. So,
Mhm.
yeah, man, just absolutely beautiful. Truly, like there are very few games that exist and have ever existed that are as well thought out and as beautifully made, as beautifully written, as beautifully coded as that game. And it's great, man. It may be the best game they've ever made. And I'm pretty sure it probably is. So we'll see what GTA 6 brings. I think it's obviously going to be a much different vibe. But story wise, that game made me feel a lot in a year where I've already been feeling a lot. So yeah, it's great, dude. I can't believe I finished it. I just hammered down. I kind of left one day thinking, I don't really know what I want to do. So I was just sitting there all Saturday, like, what the fuck am I going to do? So I just booted it up. And next thing you know, within the next day and a half, I beat it. So yeah,
Nice.
what a journey! What a journey! Thank you for everyone for cheering me on. Thank you for giving me the willpower, pushing me through. It definitely was worth it. It's more of an issue with me, not the game, and that's what I keep saying over and over. So that's it. Yeah, the end of a journey, and what a journey it was. So
Yeah. Yeah, it is actually. I mean, I wanted to antagonize you because of the challenge, and I really wanted you to have to do something you didn't want to do as a punishment. But I'm glad you beat it because I don't know if it's my favorite game of all time, but there are very few other games that have affected me in many different ways, emotionally, intellectually, artistically, as that game.
yeah,
So I'm really glad that you got to finish it, and
yeah. I
even
mean,
if you did have to drag yourself kicking and screaming through it.
right. No, I actually did enjoy it. The majority of it. And
Yeah.
to answer chat, Derek, it was a deer. It was a deer. And to answer Edward Walton, it's just a somber game, man. I don't know. It's one of those beautiful things, and something that I appreciate about like art in general is that it can make you feel. And this was a game that definitely made me feel. Not a lot of things make me feel the way this game made me feel. Not a lot of games specifically. So to kind of take that in and kind of reflect on it while I'm talking about it with you guys is, yeah, it's sad but beautiful, and that's a lot of what life is. So.
Dave, to answer your question earlier, yes, the technicality was the streaming. One of the nights, I believe it was in November, maybe it was even October. It was the last night of the month, and we all got an invite. All of us local guys got an invite to go out for beers or something. And Brandon said, "I have to stream tonight. If I don't stream tonight, I lose a challenge." And 30 minutes later, so he started streaming, and 30 minutes later, he was at the bar. So
He
he only
streamed for
streamed
20
I think I
minutes.
was in your stream that night.
I streamed for
remember
20
that
minutes.
somebody
That was
was
my
in your-
lowest. That was my lowest stream. Was 20 minutes, and I needed to go to the bar with the boys. Like,
Wasn't
like
somebody in your chat at the bar telling you to come to the bar? Was that night?
It might have
that was
been.
another night.
That was another
I-
night.
Yeah, right.
No, that was another
Yeah, that
night.
was another night I
Yeah.
bailed to stream because
You were playing.
that night you didn't
Cult
come.
of the Lamb. Yeah. Okay, I remember.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, that was a different night.
Yeah. For me, I played a lot of different. I finished a lot of different things. First of all, the thing, I finally got through it. Finally did it, guys. I'm just kidding. I didn't
You
do
played
that.
it?
No, for the people audio only, I was holding up a copy of Life is Strange that Nicholas sent me that I'll probably never play. But no, I finally finished Mass Effect 1 the day after. I think it was the day after or 2 days after we finished the podcast. I just sat down and pounded it out. I finished it. I ended up doing a lot of the side quests as well through the end of the game. And I liked the last half of the game way more than I liked the first half. And I don't know if it was strictly narrative, because the narrative I think picks up quite a bit, obviously in the second half, or if the gameplay just changed dramatically for me. But I did enjoy the latter half of the game way more than the first half. And um, I'm happy I played it. I am sad that I waited so long, as I talked about last week, because it made me, I think, appreciate the game less the more time had gone by. Like, I recognize so many things about games we love that come out now that are a direct result of people who designed them playing Mass Effect when it came out. Right. So, like, I know the impact it had on the industry, but for whatever reason, it just didn't click with me now in 2024 the same way. So I don't think it's on my, my top 10 games I've ever played or anything like that. But I did enjoy it more than I didn't. So I think that's a victory. And I think I will eventually play Mass Effect 2, but I don't know about anytime soon. I saw that Poot recommended in the Discord, which, by the way, we have a live chat here. Okay. No, Derek, I do not. We have a live stream here, and then Poot sometimes will type in the live stream chat, and then sometimes he'll type in the Discord. And just type, if you're talking about the episode, bro, just type in the live stream. I'm going to see it immediately that way. But he said that maybe playing Ico and The Last Guardian would be a good 2025 gaming resolution. I have to think of what I will do for my gaming resolutions, but I think I stated last week, and I think I'm more in tune with this year, is that I don't want to force myself. I don't want to put myself in a position again where I feel like I'm forced to play a game that I should be taking my time to enjoy and love and playing because I want to, and instead just playing it to get through it. Like, I'm very happy that I played Mass Effect. I'm very happy Brandon played Red Dead 2, but I think both of us enjoyed both of those games less because we felt like we had to play them rather than because we wanted to play them. And I don't know that I would have played Mass Effect had I not had that goal, in fairness. But I don't know that I want to put myself in that. I'm not going to tell anybody else they shouldn't. But I don't know if I want to put myself in that position again, where I'm forcing myself to get through a game that I know should be a great experience, and I'm not enjoying it.
Don't leave it till the end of the year?
Well, I didn't leave it till the end of the year. I played 8 hours of it up through August. Like, I just played a little bit each time, but I didn't feel like I wanted to play it. It wasn't what I wanted to play in that moment, I guess. So I don't know. I left the end of it till the end of the year for sure. But I played over half of it by the middle of the year, basically. So, I think the first time I booted it up was in January, and I think I booted it up at least once a month after that. So, I don't know. It just wasn't. Maybe I'll struggle with it, and like Ed mentions, that Ico and The Last Guardian are both less than the runtime of Mass Effect 1 by like 10 hours. So I get that, but that's not the point. It wasn't about the length of the game. Like, I think I beat Mass Effect in like 11 hours. 11 or 12 hours. It wasn't like it was this long, grueling task like Red Dead.
Mine took like 50.
Yeah. But I would also say Red Dead, this is a hot take maybe, but I think Red Dead 2 is leaps and bounds ahead of Mass Effect as far as my style of game, what I prefer in a game. So anyway, all that to say, I'm happy I played it. I did enjoy it overall, but I don't know. I played a couple hours. Dave talked about Return to Moria last week. I played a couple hours of Return to Moria, basically just the intro and a little more after that. I can already tell you I'm going to love it, but I stopped playing it because it was 5 a.m., and I will return to it at some point. Dave, we should get together and play it together because I think it is really good co-op.
So, but what Ben is leaving out is that because I was an early adopter of Return to Moria, and I bought it on Steam, and I played about 10 hours. And then last week, Epic Game Store decided to make it free. So yeah, because Ben had bought it on Steam, but he hadn't booted it up yet, so he was eligible for the overly generous Steam refund, which I wasn't. So fuck you, Epic Game Store, Steam. I don't know who I'm mad at, but yeah.
You should probably be mad at whoever published the game, because they probably made the decision. But yeah, so I bought it for $16 and didn't boot it up, and then Epic had it for free, and so I got it for free and got my Steam copy refunded, which I'm very pleased with Steam's refund policy for sure in this case.
Still free on Epic?
I think maybe for another day or two.
Okay, so PSA, anyone, if you're interested in the game, it's free and you should play it.
If you like survival crafting or Lord of the Rings or both, which I am a giant fan of both, so this is basically Ben bait at this point. I don't know what's happening here. People are... Doesn't matter. Played some of the Hunt Showdown event that's going on right now. It is Post Malone's Murder Circus. There was a small advert for it in the Game Awards, if you didn't see that. But basically, it's a circus in the game. They do these events where there's it's a limited time, 2 months in this case, that they have a specific theme running, special skins, a certain battle pass, all that kind of stuff. But the interesting thing about this one is that Post Malone is actually in the game. They actually modeled the character after him. He plays the ringmaster. And you can have him as a skin and run around and kill people as Post Malone. But I haven't played as much of it as I'd like to, because I don't have anybody to reliably play with me. And I don't really like playing that game solo, because it's hard and I'm bad. And that's just the honest truth. So anyway, though, I'm loving it. And I love I love Post Malone. And he looks like he belongs in that game because he's like grungy and tattooed up and a mess. So I think it's a good addition. 2 more things for me. All of those games, Return to Moria, Hunt, Mass Effect 1, were like the minority of my gaming time because I only put a couple hours into each of them at that point. But I put lots more time into Marvel Rivals. I am still enjoying it, but I'm getting really frustrated because it is very hard to find a group of people in solo queue, and my times just haven't been matching up with other people. But that I know, and there aren't many people I know who are willing to play it, but Marvel Rivals is a lot of fun, but I want to play in the competitive mode, and it's really hard to find a team that will, 1, communicate, and 2, use characters that are complementary to each other. So when you load into a game and 4 people instantly lock Hela, or instantly choose Hela, and then they're forced to switch off of them. And basically what I've been doing every round is if we need a tank, I go tank. If we need a healer, I go healer. I know I'm not getting DPS. And so I very rarely get to play DPS. The few times where I've just said, you know what, screw it, I'm playing DPS, are the only games I have won and I have gotten MVP. So I should be playing DPS, but I'm playing tank or healer because that's what the team needs. And that's what hero shooters are all about. They came out today and said that they weren't planning on adding a role queue, and a lot of people were like, yay, just add it as an option. You don't have to force people into a role queue. If people want to play in a role queue, let them play in a role queue, and if they don't, then don't. That's fine. But I get really tired of the fact that just like everybody just wants to get cool kills. They don't want to do what's necessary to help the team win, and that makes it really hard to play competitive with any kind of reliability and competitiveness. And nobody wants to use a mic or even communicate in text chat or anything. So is it time for an HP squad up on Rivals? Brandon and I have played a little bit. I don't think Dave's played it more than you did that first week, right, Dave?
No.
How dare you?
It's a lot of fun. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm a lead healer.
Yeah. I need you backing me up. I need to play tank and have you healing.
Dude, I switched to Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. The last thing is Indiana Jones. I don't remember if I had started this last week when we podded or not. I did. But I'm probably like 10-ish hours into it total. And man, I really love this game. In all seriousness, I mean, I'm a big Indiana Jones fan in general. I really like Indiana Jones. But I really think this is a good game apart from the fact that it's Indiana Jones as well. Lots of creeping around, lots of action. I try my best to do as much stealth as I can until I somehow tip somebody off. The AI is kind of bad, in fairness, so sometimes it's really easy to hide from them and get away. But in the instances where I can't hide and get away from them, I just kill everybody, which is not really the spirit of the game, I don't think, but it's very Indiana Jones, and that it's like, well, they found me, I might as well just beat the shit out of them. So that's a lot of what I've been doing. You just see like dead bodies laying everywhere, and I just go around and pick them up and dump them in a hole, and nobody knows any better. I looked it up. I looked up the guide or a guide before the show just so I knew. I think I'm about halfway through the game. The way I'm playing, it's probably going to take me a little longer than the average time to beat, just because I'm not going for like all the trophies or achievements or trying to get 100% or anything like that. But I just, in games like this, I just want to explore like every nook and cranny that I can. And especially in a world that I already love with the character I like, that's really cool to me. So I'm enjoying it a lot, having a lot of fun. I probably will be done with it by, well, with Christmas and everything, I don't know, but within the next week, definitely by the time we come back for the episode, the next live episode after the first of the year. So that's what I have been playing. The AI is, Why You Should Play says the AI is very bad, but it fits the campy, cheesy tone of dumb Nazis and fascists. Yes, absolutely, it does. Are you still in the first area or the second? I am in the second area, Ed. I don't want to say what it is, but there's a lot of sand. The Lord of the Rings game is still free on Epic, says Greek. Congrats, Greek. You win. Do I like it more than Tomb Raider and Uncharted? I do. I don't know if it's a better game. That's really hard for me to say, having not played Tomb Raider or Uncharted in a long time, but I like it more because it's Indiana Jones. And I like Lara Croft and I like Nathan Drake, but not like I like Indiana Jones. Derek wants to know if we have any good pulls from the new Pokemon TCG Pocket Booster Pack. I pulled one immersive card from it today, but I only did one pack, and I don't remember what the card was called because it wasn't a real Pokemon, because it wasn't in the first 151. Why You Should Play says I did a lot of side stuff in first and second hub areas and very little in the third, and came close to 20 hours total when I finished. Nice. I think that's probably about where I'll be. That's all we got for tonight, boys. That's it. And that's the last live thing you'll hear from us until the beginning of 2025. We'll have another episode out, like I said. If you want to make sure you hear about it, either make sure you're following wherever you get your podcast or on YouTube. You can also support us on patreon.com/handsomephantom. We appreciate that. You can also join us in the Discord at handsomephantom.com/Discord. Boys, we need a name for the show before we sign off and get out of here.
I had one. Xbox, but without the box.
Perfect. It's maybe the best title you've ever come up with, Dave. Thanks. Because it's the one we needed right now. All right. We'll see you guys later. We appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Happy
New Year.
New Year.
We love you all.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Another awesome year.
We'll be back at the first of the year. We'll definitely be talking about our resolutions. And unfortunately, I don't think anybody failed theirs. So there will be no juicy punishments, but we'll see. That's yet to be decided. That'll be a council vote. Goodbye, everybody.